doing well. I'm Stephen Bartkus, the director of the Ridgefield Historical Society, and I would like to welcome all of you to the Ridgefield History Club here at the Scott House at 4 Sunset Lane in Ridgefield, Connecticut. Today's date is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, and the Ridgefield Historical Society is dedicated to preserving and sharing Ridgefield's historical, cultural, and architectural heritage from the indigenous peoples who lived here 10,000 years ago all the way up to the present day. And we welcome everyone to get involved here at the Historical Society, and please become a member or a volunteer and get involved in the work that we do to preserve Ridgefield's history. So for today, we're going to be talking about the Great Danbury State Fair and its Ridgefield, Connecticut connections. Obviously just located to the town just to the north of Ridgefield. Ridgefielders over the years have enjoyed the many activities that have taken place at the Danbury State Fair. The Danbury Fair was a yearly exhibition that was begun in 1821 as an agricultural fair, but did not have a regular schedule until 1869, when hat manufacturers Rundle and White helped form the Danbury Farmers and Manufacturers Society. From then until its closing, the fair was open for 10 days every October, right around this time of the year. So that's why we selected this topic for today's discussion. And the Danbury Fair, was going for quite a few years. It didn't close until 1981, and then that was followed shortly after by the construction of the Danbury Fair Mall that we see today when we drive by on the highway. So if anyone here has any specific memories or stories or history about the fair, we'd love to hear about that. And I also wanted to mention that, of course, we have Jack Sanders in attendance, who has written over a dozen books on Ridgefield's history, and he's able to provide great historical perspective for us. And what we're looking at on the TV, Betsy, do you want to tell us what this is?
Wow, look at are those cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a video from that was on the website of the Danbury Museum and History Center. I guess they're doing a presentation, I'm not sure, but there's a lot of them on YouTube too, which are really fun to look at.
The Tilt-A-Whirl.
Yeah.
That's great. Did anyone here ever go to the Danbury Fair? Raise your hand if you went to the Danbury Fair. Oh my gosh, everyone's hand. Everyone except Pete didn't.
I never went.
No.
My parents never took me, and then I went away to college,
Deprived.
that's why I wanted to come to see this, to find out more about it. I do remember hearing the race cars
Yes.
during the summers from my house.
Racerama.
Racerama, yeah. Right.
And the lights.
You could see the lights.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I lived on Continental, and so I had a pretty good view, and the sound traveled pretty well to where I lived. And but I heard about it, but never really got a chance to go.
Let me ask a question. Did you get free tickets in Ridgefield to go to the fair or no?
No.
No. I grew up in Danbury, and in Danbury, every school child got the Friday of the fair off
Really?
and a free ticket to the fair, which we figure was very smart on the part of John Leahy, who ran the fair, because it meant that all the parents would be bringing their kids to the fair that day, and it would be less busy than on the weekends. The weekends were just insane in Danbury. You just knew that you didn't drive through there on fair weekends. There were two. But yeah, that was like the biggest deal of the year for Danbury school kids.
I may have missed it, but what year did it begin?
Looks like 1821 as an
Right.
agricultural
The real
fair.
fair was 1869 though, right?
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like it didn't establish as a regular schedule until
Wow,
1869.
1869?
Yeah,
There was a
So it's
Ridgefield
over
fair,
100 years.
right,
yeah.
that it put out of business, more or less?
The Danbury Fair put it out of, yeah.
The
but
Ridgefield Fair?
The
The
agricultural
Ridgefield Fair lasted from the 1860s to the 1880s. And the fairgrounds were sizable. They had permanent buildings. It was on Wilton Road West between Soundview and Wilton Road West. That, in fact, Soundview was part of the fairgrounds.
Really?
And there was a racetrack in there,
Racetrack?
a racetrack, and there was a grandstand.
Horses,
and
right?
Horses, yeah,
Right.
well.
Wow.
Toward the very end, they had an electric car, or maybe it was a steam car, come from Stamford for an exhibit there, and it rode down Main Street and rode around. That was in the 1880s, so that's pretty early for a
Oh, yeah.
mechanical engine powered. But that was a big deal, and it was fairly regional, but this thing kept getting bigger and bigger. And it made it kind of unnecessary to have a Ridgefield one. And of course, a lot of the farmers in Ridgefield were toward the north,
North, yeah.
and they were actually
Ridge
closer
Fair.
to the Danbury Fairgrounds. I grew up on Ridge Road, which is in West Terrace, which, if you've ever been to Chuck's Steakhouse on Cedar Street, is across the street and up that hill.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up, and so we could walk to the
Walk
fair
over.
every day as kids, and growing up in the 50s and 60s, and all the kids in the neighborhood knew how to sneak into the fair. We didn't need tickets, because there were ways through the back fences that would get you in, and then you'd look around on the ground for people who had dropped change, and there were ways of scrounging up the
Money
fun.
to
Is there a statute of limitations? Because this is on film now.
They'd have a hard time. I won't admit it.
Okay.
Never realized
But,
it was so big.
So, you know, and my father, who never went anywhere, loved the fair.
He did.
And he, among the things that he loved was he discovered for himself sausage and peppers and onions.
Oh.
He had never eaten before. He was an old New England, upper New York State family, and they were very dull food. And boy, once he discovered it, without the tomato sauce, just peppers, onions, and
Yeah,
Italian
yeah.
sausage.
That's the way we used to.
He would make that every Sunday morning for breakfast. We would have grinders for breakfast. The Danbury Fair. But, so we usually went with our parents
Yeah,
and
we did too.
had a good time, but
Yeah.
we could always just sneak over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Fridays, when they shut down the schools in Danbury and all that, that was a zoo.
Yeah, it must have been.
How many
Yeah,
times
that
a
was
year?
huge.
Really compares to what the Big E is now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
The first thing I hear when I moved to Ridgefield in '67, the first thing I hear about the fair is you can't go to Danbury on the weekends.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Route 7 was
Oh, yeah.
unbelievable. Even 84, which was built by the 60s, that would be backed up for miles. Just people trying to get in there. So where my parents lived, there would be people wandering around in their cars looking for places to park. Because it wasn't that, you know, it was about a 10-minute walk. And so some of the smarter kids in the neighborhood would start charging $1 to park in the front lawn. And a lot of kids made money that way.
Very smart.
Wow.
What time of year was this usually like happen? Or is it like year round or like
Just
Like
October.
October?
Yeah.
The last day was always Columbus Day.
Columbus
Yeah.
Monday
That's
of
right.
Columbus, so
Yeah.
10 days, including Columbus Day.
Must be Miss Danbury Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
We
a
always
Miss
seem to
Miss
get hot,
Danbury Fair.
hot weather during that.
You could have hot weather, you could have cold weather,
Mm.
but it was actually, most of the time, it was very nice weather. It's a nice time of the year.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was this year, it was, if it had been Fair Week, if
Yeah,
the fair were there,
Yeah.
it would have been
it would have
nice.
been a zoo.
Yeah.
Now, did Mr. Leahy own all that property?
They did, yeah.
Wow.
He must have bought it from the manufacturing and whatever,
A long
The
time,
founders
he
were-
acquired it a long time ago.
yeah. I mean, he was associated with that fair for
A long time.
as long as I can remember. I don't know when Leahy Oil and Gas started, but a lot of those started right
Okay.
around, World War II.
Yeah. So he owned all that,
Who
wow.
was the manager?
Leo something?
Oh, there was somebody, the last name of Jarvis, who
That's
Yeah,
it,
was,
yeah.
Jarvis.
yeah,
Irv-
yeah.
Irving?
Yes,
I don't
think
remember the
that's, he
first
was the
name.
manager for years and years.
Yeah.
When my husband just reminded me the day before this that I bought him a book years ago on the Great Danbury State Fair that was written by Mrs. Leahy. And he has read it, I had not, I unearthed it from the bookshelf, but she wrote this book on the Danbury Fair. She started the book, she talks about, the few pages I read, she talks about Mr. Leahy saying to her one day, Gladys, I want you to write a book on the fair. And it was almost Christmas time, and she said to him, I was, too much going on, too much going on. He goes, January 2nd, you're starting the book on the fair. January 2nd, sure enough. He's at work, he calls her home, it's January 2nd, Gladys, time to start the book on the fair. So she wrote the first part of this book, and when she finished it, she was gonna have it self-published, but it was gonna cost like $1,500. She says in the prologue here. So she put it away. She decided she wouldn't spend on that. But her grandson eventually finished it. And so the second part of this book, it looks like, is all about the attractions and things that were at the Danbury Fair. And the first part is her memories of putting it all together. So it's, it's published by Emerald Press. I don't know where I got it. They may have had the bookstore order it for me. It came out in 2016. But it has some good stories about, I would imagine, as I say, good stories about the Danbury Fair.
If you read it.
If I had read it, which I haven't seen it. But anyway, I don't know if anybody wants to take a look at it.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, when I was working at the Hearst Acorn newspapers, we interviewed Jack Stetson on our radio show, and he had a lot of good stories about his great uncle, grandfather, whatever. Yeah, and what a tough taskmaster he
He was a very tough taskmaster, I guess, yeah. He says in the epilogue, the grandson mentions that he ended up taking over the Leahy's oil business when his grandfather passed away, and that they lost a lot of customers at the oil company over that sale. People were so angry and so resentful about that. And he does say, I think he could have done more, but I think he just kind of gave up on it. He was older and he just didn't want to fight it anymore. He does tell a story in the epilogue too about Mr. Leahy used to like to he had a lot of high school kids who worked at the fair, and he'd get the high school boys together. And the one story he told was, one day he said to us, "It's a very sad day today, boys." Oh, what happened? Yale graduated 245 lawyers today, and I'll bet most of them are going to sue
Sue me. That's a good story.
Yeah, that is. So that was in the beginning of the book?
That was at the end.
Oh.
That was at
At
the
the
end
end.
of the book. So anyway, yeah.
I almost think that I've heard stories, I don't know whether it's true or not, that one of the reasons that he sold it is because there was a problem with inheritance.
Oh, I don't, yeah, it could be.
That thing had become so valuable,
Oh, the taxes would have been,
yeah, that he couldn't figure out how to hand that down to, I mean, I'm sure he could have given it to a nonprofit or something like that, but
Right,
I
yeah.
don't know. He just, and that kind of discouraged him.
Betsy, can I hit play on this?
Sure. Oh, want me to do it?
See if I figure it out.
I don't know. I might have to do it from the computer, right? Keith?
I remember when we got to
Is
the
that where
kids of
you
a certain
log in?
age, we were just talking about the fact that our parents would want us to go see, you know, the vegetables, the fruit, the animals, and all we wanted to do was go to the little alleyway there that they had for all the games and the rides, you know,
And the junk food,
and the junk food.
ice cream, fried
Yeah.
dough,
Not
Fried
junk,
dough.
French fries.
not junk, the good food.
Funnel cake.
Good food.
Is that a child or a doll?
Wait, so what
That's-
was everyone's favorite attraction there?
Yeah. Good
Well,
one.
the big top was really fun. I mean, at least I thought it was. That was where all the agricultural
Yeah.
displays were.
I like that
And,
too.
and then on the outside of that were all the kind of tchotchke dealers.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
One of the ones I'm sure everybody remembers, they sold these little log cabins that had a thing that you could light like punk, but it smelled like balsam, and that was, you were supposed to buy those.
Like
And I think
incense.
everybody bought one for their mother at one point. And lavender, they would sell lavender sachets.
Ginsu knives.
Ginsu knives.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there were the guys who would come and do demonstrations
Oh, yes.
of cookware
Yes.
and,
Right.
and
Yeah.
They were very fast talking.
very
salesmen.
fast talking. There would be a crowd around them, and then when they started to try and sell things, it would just melt away.
Right.
Wow, look at that, look at that.
Yeah, look at the cars.
Yeah,
Look
That
at the
was
crazy.
cars, oh my.
Think of the miles of traffic jams.
And there used to be buses from New York City would come up, like just
Yeah,
bus after
yeah,
bus after
yeah.
bus, on the weekend.
That was the way to do it.
Yeah. That's the racetrack.
That's the
And you can
racetrack.
see the big top in the center there in the
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. But the racetrack, I mean, that was a whole other thing, and doesn't really necessarily connect to the fair, but that was the big Ridgefield thing, right?
Oh, it was.
Every
Every
Saturday.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Half of Ridgefield would go.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
well, a lot of Ridgefield had
A lot of
race
drivers.
cars,
Yeah.
like Andy Montanari, Jack Nally. There was another one, so I can't remember who he was, but,
Brady,
Richard
Jim
Petty.
Brady.
yeah,
Brady,
who?
Jim Brady, I think, it was a Brady that used to drive, Leo Pambianchi, I think, owned some of the cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And those were stock cars.
Stock
yes,
cars.
stock cars.
So, when I was a kid, they were like 1940s,
30s.
30s, big, heavy,
Yeah, they were.
yeah.
Now,
I believe it
Now
started
they
as a
look like new
dirt
cars.
track, and you'd sit there and all the dust would fly up, and then they finally did
They-
pave the track.
Which made for more accidents or less?
Faster. Probably go
Faster.
faster.
Yeah.
Jim, you mentioned Jim Brady. Was he a police officer or?
Yeah.
some- And did he also work as a ticket taker at Great Pond at one point?
I don't know
Yes.
that,
That was
but he
Chief
was a
Brady.
policeman.
Chief Brady, I
Yeah.
didn't know
I
if
don't
it
think
was,
he was the race
No,
car
he
driver.
wasn't
huh?
No.
a race
No,
car
no.
driver.
No.
because I remember Chief Brady, I guess, sitting there with his
Yeah, could be,
clicker, yeah.
could be, because he was
He
the
had
chief,
been, he was the town's first.
yeah,
police
first
chief.
police
Oh,
chief.
okay.
Chick
I remember
Stockwell
that.
was a big
Wow.
driver there.
That's right,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah.
Goats.
He wasn't a Ridgefield.
No,
driver, huh?
no.
And this is all the.
All the barns.
The barns, there were so many animals on display. And there were oxen pulls, which I guess I don't, is it considered cruel now, is that? I don't think they even do it at,
They do it up at.
do they do it at the Big E?
Yeah, at the Big E,
Yeah,
at least.
Well, this is
How
Couple
fun.
years
about
ago.
the other one?
Bridgewater.
Beginning with
Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bridgewater still has it.
Bridgewater
Yeah.
also.
and Durham,
Yeah, and Durham.
yeah. I mean, there aren't too many agricultural fairs
No.
left in Connecticut.
Very few.
Woodstock, Durham, I think Chester still has one. But, it's kind of a dying thing, because there's not as much agriculture, I guess.
They have some interesting competitions at some of these fairs. I was at the Orange County Fair a few years ago, and they had skillet tossing, which I had never seen before. You know,
You mean just
just, you know,
like a frisbee?
yeah, as far as you can throw, you know. Whoever could toss the iron skillet the farthest was the winner, you know.
When
Yeah.
one, get one of those.
I'd never seen that before.
I think at Durham they had lawn tractor pulls.
Yeah.
See if you could get your lawn tractor to show.
Look at that.
Mm.
Has anyone been to see the exhibit in Ridgebury that Paula Schmidt does?
I have.
You have.
Yeah.
Does she have, like a lot of the figurines?
Not the
and-
big things. She had some smaller ones. She also had signs and different kinds of, the hats, some of the like artwork that was around
Where is the exhibit?
at her house on Harley Road.
She does it
Oh.
once a year,
Oh,
right
okay.
around fair time.
Yeah, I didn't even see it this year.
I saw
They
it
did
posted.
advertise it in the,
Oh.
she had it advertised on Facebook that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
she was doing it.
Oh, okay. I don't do Facebook.
The, who's at the Danbury Train Museum? They have, is it Farmer John? One of the
Oh.
huge
Is that the
statues.
big-
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam was,
Yeah.
Farmer
Yeah.
John's somewhere else then, but people did collect all those big statues. and-
Yeah, no, they have a lot of Rosie tomorrow.
Oh, they
that's
do?
right, yeah, the one on the swing.
Yeah.
And is the carousel at the mall, is that from the
Lots of
actual
stuff
fair?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I don't
No?
think it
Sort of antique.
Well,
is. It's an old,
It's an old one.
it's an old one, but I don't think it's.
I know for many years after the fair was flattened and was all dirt, you would drive on 84 and you would just see that big figure standing there by himself. Farmer, I don't know, or no, it wasn't Paul Bunyan, but he was there for a long time.
Farmer John.
Nobody bought him.
One of them's in Vermont.
One of the classes at Ridgefield High School stole one of those. And put it in one of the, what do you call it?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but,
Senior pranks?
Yeah,
but I don't,
Was it
I
one of
don't
those
remember
in the
cows?
seventies, I think.
They
Yeah,
put
that's
it
when I
on
was
the
there.
top of the school?
I don't remember that. I remember the Volkswagen,
They put it on top of the school.
right? But
Yeah, I remember the rope.
then the tires, that was an amazing thing. But has nothing to do with the Danbury Fair. And there's not a pavilion, but at Jesse Lee Church, there's a, I'm not even sure what you would call it, a little covered patio type thing, like they have over at Ballard Park, all
Like
wood
the
structure.
gazebo?
Gazebo, yeah. And somebody had said that was from the Danbury
Oh, could
Fair.
be, could be.
There was one in the Dutch Village, I think. No, not the Dutch Village, the New England Village, on the other end of the fair.
I think Mr. Conklin had a lot of horses there.
Oh,
And the Banks family up in Richbury, which they were related. Dick Banks used to have a lot to do with the
did he
the
have
horses.
oxen?
I'm sorry?
Did he have oxen?
No,
No,
horses.
there were banks who did do oxen pulls, I can remember
Could,
that name.
it could be related,
Yeah,
but, the Conklins had a lot of horses there.
My sister-in-law was from New Jersey, and she would love to come up to the fair every year and would take our kids to the fair. And one of her highlights was in the arena when they had the Canadian Mounted Police as one of the shows.
Oh,
Had everything.
yeah, I don't know if that's on this, there was one, when they do the parade in this film, there were also a group of Palominos. I forget whether they were like some mounted patrol or what, but we used to love to go see those. They were so beautiful.
the Clydesdales too are
Oh.
amazing.
Okay, the Clydesdales,
Yeah,
wow.
they're
Yeah, here's the,
biggest horses you've ever seen. They're huge.
it was pretty amazing how close you could get to all these creatures too, you know?
So true. Are those
I don't
elephants?
remember those
They're
elephants.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, no.
I don't either, I don't
No,
remember any of
I
them.
don't remember elephants.
No.
They're there.
No.
Betsy, do you know the date of this?
No. Didn't have a date.
Where did you get it from, Betsy?
From the Danbury Museum and Historical Society. It's
Oh,
on their
okay,
website.
yeah. Okay.
But there's many, many on YouTube. There's one where Paul Baker is interviewing Mr. Najimy.
Oh, yeah,
Jamie.
The Jamie.
And they were
Hey.
talking about, yeah, they had a lot of really old clips as
Oh,
well.
that would have been good to see.
Yeah.
And Paul Baker was the voice of the
Race
Race
around.
around.
That's right, yeah, the race arena.
Yeah.
Race Arena, right?
Then he had a radio show too, didn't he, with Aiden and Jamie?
In the morning, yeah?
Yeah.
Trying to guess by the clothes.
Yeah.
And they always had Miss Danbury Fair.
Did you know who she was, Sally?
It was usually somebody from, like, the senior class at Danbury High School.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't think they outsourced that one. There's the Clydesdale.
Wow.
There was never actually beer on that truck.
Weren't they just in or about in Ridgefield or Budweiser?
We saw them go
They
through.
were, I saw them go through town, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Where
they
they were
stopped. I don't know where they were, but
Going
they
to
were
the
in
Big
trade.
E, maybe to the Big E.
Maybe.
It's a long way to go back
Long
to
way
the
around.
way to go to the Big E.
I had heard something, it's not about the Danbury Fair, but about the Barnum and Bailey Circus. They used to keep the animals up in Ridgebury at, over by the golf course, or where the golf course is.
Oh.
And,
Various circuses kept their animals here
oh, they
because
did?
the people that ran the circuses lived here
Oh,
in North Salem, Somers,
uh-huh.
some in Ridgefield, Louis June on North Salem Road.
Oh, okay.
What was
a
the name?
Louis June. He was a,
As in June Road.
June Road.
well, I guess that's his family, but this guy lived in Ridgefield and he was big in doing PR for circuses back in the 1800s.
Oh.
He was involved in Barnum and Bailey
Yeah,
and
Barnum and
others,
Bailey.
and made a lot of money. One of the things that he developed was the circus train coming to town and the parade from the train to the circus grounds. He kind of invented that, I think.
So he was a marketing man.
Yeah.
And Turner, was he also a?
Aaron Turner had his own circus and hired P.T. Barnum as his ticket taker and treasurer. When P.T. Barnum was a young man. And Turner's son was a acrobat when he was a teenager. standing up bare back on horses. There's quite a bit of circus history in Ridgefield.
Yeah,
And
didn't know that.
Turner eventually settled in Danbury and started a hotel called the Turner House, which was on the green. And old timers here will probably remember the Knights of Columbus Hall in Danbury. It was on the green. It's across from St. Peter's School and cemeteries,
Okay,
and a
yeah,
big old
yeah.
building. That was the Turner House that Aaron Turner, who was born in Ridgefield, set up.
Is that where we get Turner Road from? From
Turner
their
Road,
family?
yes,
In Ridgefield?
that family, yeah. That's,
Horses go
Look at that, oh wow. That is so hard to do, to drive a team of horses.
I think those were ponies,
Yeah, they look like ponies.
because I remember they used to be in a special place somewhere in one of the barns. They must have gone from fair to fair.
Were there ever fireworks? I don't recall that.
I believe there were, because I seem to remember seeing fireworks from our house.
I don't think it was during the fair though,
Oh,
because of
okay.
all the animals.
Oh,
Yeah,
it might not have been.
that probably was, yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean,
But I guess it could have been some other time of
Mall-
year.
the
Years
mall used to
later.
have
Yeah.
fireworks.
Yeah.
That's right.
yeah, the mall,
They
we
used to,
could see them.
they used to have somebody who did daredevil car things in that center ring too.
That's right.
You know, through fire or whatever. Joey,
Yeah.
somebody was just, I can remember Joey, but I don't remember. Yeah.
That was part of this whole show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever have singers, performers? Like if you go to the Big E, there's big, performers.
They didn't,
Musicians.
they didn't attract
I don't think we had.
big
Victor's
names.
and Rusty's Polish
They were
chorus.
like local,
Oh.
regional.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
Victor Zambrowski
Oh,
and his
yes.
Polish orchestra.
Polka.
My,
Yes.
my father's favorite Sunday morning program.
Mine too.
Yeah, used
How
to
did your
drive us
Zambrowski?
crazy with that polka music.
What a horrible thing to
I
wake
never
up to.
forgot.
Zabrowski,
9
yeah.
o'clock in the Sunday morning, you'd have that going.
The Polka King, right?
The Polka King.
Yes.
Did he play at the Danbury Fair too?
Oh, he did every
Oh,
year.
yeah.
And then his son was the prince, I
Yeah.
think.
I think it was from Bridgeport, right?
Probably.
Oh my gosh.
They also had hoochie coochie dancers.
Oh, oh, Jack, tell us about that.
I've never seen that.
Did you ever go into those booths, you know, like with the snake woman or the?
Oh,
It
yeah.
was
kind of a
good,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I mean, we
no,
would always look at them and go.
Yeah, yeah.
Freaks, yeah.
We knew they were there.
You had a great postcard from early days with
Oh, with some cow.
that had the skin of a human, and you could go into the tent and see her.
I just saw something about that online, or
Well, it was on Facebook. You don't look at Facebook.
no, I don't.
All right.
And the rides.
Yeah, the rides.
Yeah.
I remember
What's
one
that?
year,
in the background there?
Those are
Oh,
prizes,
that's
were
the
they?
cow barn.
Oh, they're from Canada.
going to the Friday with all the kids. I went with a bunch of kids, that one of whom was just so happy to be off on its own and be able to do. Kids back then were mostly free range.
Sure.
You could go to town, you could do anything.
Right, you didn't have
But
to worry.
this kid apparently had been, somewhat coddled, and this was the first time he'd been off on his own, kind of. And so, what's he do? He starts eating every junk food.
And then goes on a ride.
And then he goes for a ride, and I happen to be sitting next to
Oh.
one of those tilt-a-whirl things. All over.
What was that movie where the kid he was always being picked on, and they had this pie eating contest.
Oh,
And-
Stand By Me.
Oh,
Stand
yeah.
by me, yeah. And he's eating all this, and then all of a sudden he throws up, and then everybody
Right.
everybody
Yeah.
else starts throwing up. So did you throw up?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
No, but
It's a classic though, Jack.
very
You.
Something you'll never forget.
There's
Is
John
that Mr.
Leahy.
Leahy?
Yes, with the white boutonniere.
Yeah.
And that must be Mr. Jarvis next one, maybe Irving
Yeah,
Jarvis.
I think that's right.
And usually the governor came
Yes,
on one day.
remember one day the governor
Yeah.
used to come.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was a big deal.
Yeah, they
It
always,
was
they
It
always
was a
have
big deal.
special days.
And there's
Yeah,
this-
special days.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, special
Well,
days.
think if
yeah.
you
Yeah.
could get 60,000 people in there on a Sunday, a nice
Imagine
day. 60,000 people. That's nearly 3 times the population of Ridgefield in this one fairground.
Big time.
I can remember when you went to leave at the end of you go into the cars, all those cars. There'd been such a crush of people, and being a small child, you know, I can
Yeah.
remember. I can't remember a lot, but I can remember one time grabbing a hold of my mother's hand, being a small child, going out of there and looking up and realizing it wasn't my mother. I had somebody else's hand. And she couldn't have been too far away, but that has stayed with me all this time. So many people, so many hands,
Yeah.
so short, you know?
But you did eventually find your mother.
I did. I
Yeah.
don't think she was too far.
Yeah,
No.
I figured.
Or she might have been trying to get rid of me. Who
Yeah,
knew?
you-
Yeah, she was in a
They used
Dateline
to
story.
say that, hold on to my
Yeah.
hand.
Hold on to my
Right.
hand.
Right.
Hold on to my hand.
And
Long
also
hand, that's all.
at the fair, they would say, if you're lost, go to Farmer John.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right, and, because you can see that from anywhere, and your parents will come and find you. Is that a rescue boat?
CD,
Oh,
Civil Defense.
Oh, yes.
Mm.
and there are the Clydesdales again.
They are.
And there's the Palomino.
So much work going into
Yeah.
this. It's
A lot of
amazing.
horses
Yeah.
at the fair.
I wonder how many injuries there were when you have all these animals and all these people just standing right
No,
near them.
There.
you never heard.
You never heard it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
of course, but
But from what you said from the epilogue, he was getting sued all the time?
Well, he made it sound like he was, so yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the detail, but yeah.
they kept it quiet.
People fall down and, they
No,
slip and fall off there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all those vendors and everything, yeah, they're bound to have something.
Yeah, but no one knows of anyone.
I never
Just
heard.
organizing this parade through the millions of people must have been
Yeah,
so huge.
Can you imagine?
Yeah,
Full-time job. They must have had people
working all year round.
all year round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that in the book, Lynn?
I don't know because I didn't read it.
She didn't read it.
I'm gonna now.
You read it, leave it to me, I'm gonna read that.
But Jim read it, right?
Yeah, he did.
There's Cinderella's pumpkin. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, clowns are so creepy.
Those are clowns. I don't know where they,
Look at all those people. Whoa.
that must be a weekend.
Yeah, it must have
I
been.
think so.
My sister works at the Durham Fair. She's a secretary, and she said this year they had 155,000 people over 3 days.
Wow.
So they're getting up there for size.
It's a nice fair.
Not nearly as big as the fairgrounds here, though.
How big was it? Bigger than the mall? Because the
It kinda
parking was
went down
where the
to
airport.
well, you know where the
Swamp?
the extra mall is, where the
Yeah.
Christmas tree shop was.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that was all parking
yeah,
down there.
yeah, it was parking.
I think where the overflow basins are, where the swans swim at the end of the parking lot, that was close to the end of the fair, and that was where the New England Village was, and they had that pond. Remember they had a pond with boats on it?
I just can't believe that they could fit that many people,
I
that many
know.
cars in the wetlands area.
And that's not.
Yeah, it's just,
Well, I remember the parking
Well,
was,
when it rained,
wet.
it was wet.
Yeah,
last
it
was
night.
really wet.
It was a mess.
yeah.
yeah, people were getting stuck in the parking lot.
But
It was
they
all
kept
mud.
it grass,
Yeah,
Um,
oh yeah.
Grass, yeah.
and that kind of,
Allowed it to,
keeps it from getting too muddy.
right.
But it was across where, where there's now interchanges for Route 7.
Right.
That was all parking in there, and where Whole Foods is, and,
When did the Danbury Airport begin?
It was there.
oh, it was,
Was
I
there
was
during
was
there
there
a
at that
long
time?
time.
oh yeah, people would fly into the fair.
Okay, I didn't know whether,
And you could get rides. You could,
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
fairground, you
Yeah.
You
could,
could get a ride on
Yeah,
the
you
airplane,
can-
I remember that.
Right.
oh,
I wanted to do that, my father did not.
Now, who are they? See there, Davy Crockett down? No.
They're getting ribbons.
Connecticut Fifth.
I think it's probably Germantown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Germantown Angels.
Yeah, looks like them. So they probably couldn't do this anymore around here. There's no place to do it.
Yeah.
yeah.
There isn't the kind of farming and,
No.
So the land goes for building.
yeah. Did you go to Ridgebury Day?
I did.
How was it?
It was very nice, except they didn't have the
Hot air balloon?
hot air balloon.
Oh,
It was too windy.
Oh, yeah, sure
But
was.
they said, no, it wasn't that windy on Sunday. Yesterday it was.
yesterday, yeah.
And they will not do it if it's more than 6 knots per hour. So, but Ira Joe Fisher was there, and they had face painting, and it was fun.
Good.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's a
well
nice
attended.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing,
Yeah.
I like it.
62.
62.
Mm.
Okay.
There you go.
That's it.
Well, this has been great hearing your memories about the Danbury
Yeah.
Fair, and I have a couple historical facts here that I found too. So it said in 1895, more than 1,000 people were employed by the fair, and that was a long time ago. So it seems like it really benefited the region's economy by having this this event here. And then it said the racetrack was built on the fairgrounds in 1932, so that's when they transitioned from those horse races to the stock cars and the midget cars.
Midgets. That's right.
And I guess those races took place throughout the year, right? What happened on the fairgrounds when the fair wasn't taking place? Were there any other activities that took place there?
Just the races.
Just the
Every
races.
Saturday night.
Racer and-
Races.
Stock car
Every
races.
Saturday, okay.
Stock car.
And then it said, the last day of the fair, October 12th, 1981, there were 400,000 people who attended the fair that year, which I guess that 2-week period.
Wow.
So that was a pretty incredible end to it. I would like to let you know that our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, November 19th at 10 o'clock here at the Scott House. Everyone is welcome to join us. We love to have people stop by and participate in the discussion. So our topic is going to be the Native Americans. So many people don't realize that the Native Americans lived here on what we call Ridgefield today for 10,000 years before the European colonists came here. So there's a deep, deep history that many people don't know about. So we're fortunate to have a lot of very interesting stone tools in our collection here at the Historical Society that these Native Americans created and left behind. So we're going to bring some of those out and talk about Native American history. And it's much more than the first Thanksgiving that we're all familiar with, that we've learned about in school. It's a very fascinating, complex history. So please join us on Tuesday, November 19th at 10 o'clock here at the Scott House to learn about Ridgefield's Native American history. Thank you all for joining us.